stores are you evading? Just past the dogs, a line of gated fence with cameras on. Keep us from the wolves behind. Soul is a guest in the body, you gotta treat it right, Fort Wayne. You gotta treat it right, the soul is a guest in the body. Don't kick it out too early. Can I just stay the night? 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 Can I stay in your guest house? You let me stay in your guest house. Can I stay in your guest house? We let me stay in your guest house.
I'm just trying to get it so that it's going to be ready for a gig tomorrow. It's still so... These new strings are so hard. I had this vision of like, all right, we're going to do this crazy thing. We're going to start this band. And, you know, after living in Mexico, I had a vision of, you know, I could do something where I'm playing these Mexican instruments and incorporating this music that I love and that I've been studying, but do it in English or do it in a way that I can kind of make this music a little, you know, more accessible.
I grew up in Central Virginia outside Charlottesville in a community of old-time musicians.
Yeah, so we're on the land I grew up on, out in Free Union, Virginia.
So I grew up playing that music and also studied classical music, playing Suzuki, and did Irish music for my senior project in high school.
And maybe because she grew up, you know, somewhere like this where there was a kind of a disconnection from the larger culture at large. And I think that she really saw the benefits of kind of living a life that was a little bit outside of the mainstream and outside of the muck and mire of just the ugliness of political life. There was a sense of kind of trying to create a real conscious world here for the kids. And so even though we're not living back to the land, but I think there's still that spirit that Susan's been trying to keep in our life in her own way.
I think I didn't grow up imagining that I would be in a band, but I did in my early 20s have this really strong urge to figure out a way to incorporate my kids and my partner and my work into one life.
It seems like so hard for musicians to create a sustainable life when they're away from their families so long. And it seemed like, oh, we could do this in a way where it's going to be hard in different ways, but if we can do this and be with our kids and kind of show them the world, and we get to stay in so many different places and they get to just see all these different ways of existing in the world because we stay in so many houses, we go to so many different types of cities, so many different neat venue spaces and people kind of making culture and art. And they get to see that firsthand and have that be normal and just the way that people make a life and build community. And so I feel like what a great education that we can give them and exposure to the world that for us we had to come by that in our own ways as adults.
We had the chance to work with Carl Bramall.
I think it's a record where we did lean more heavily on ourselves, and I think and Carl kind of had in mind, like, you know, I want these songs to work for them playing as a duo or for them playing with the full band. And since that's what we do, let's think about that in the process as we're building the songs and building the record.
Records sort of make themselves. It's weird. I feel like it's a Ouija board or something where all three of us had our hands on it and we were kind of like, you know, I'm like, I think I want it. I'm like, my eyes are looking over there. Is it gonna go over there? Maybe it'll get close, you know. So it's like it's such a collaboration.
I guess there's this goal. You're trying to have the song itself be so beautiful that it can exist in this realm and move someone totally stripped down or totally, you know, in this huge elaboration.
Line of light around her skin. Oh, how she eases me. A bare room, an oak tree, a rainstorm and everything. Up above, planets circle round the suns as in love.
And they're like, yeah, we really enjoyed being at your house because that doesn't feel like a studio. I mean, it is a studio. The way it's set up, it kind of just looks like a guest house, which is kind of ironic.
Shaking ground, an imitation of this quaking love. Can't fake this love. Worldly things they are, made of shade next to the love of me.
I think anyone hopefully puts their love or their marriage on a special place where you're like, this is serious, and this is like what I'm going to build my life around, and this is like what gives my life meaning, but kind of also trying to acknowledge how hard it is.
Pure at ease, it's pure to me. Is my love strong enough? Is it strong enough for you? Is my love strong enough to get you through?
In thinking about, a song like Big Sur, and feeling like those questions and doubts don't undercut the love or the strength of the love, but it kind of just is more of an acknowledgement of how things are when you present them in a real honest way.
I had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder in my 20s. So it's another word for that is manic depression. It's when your moods kind of escalate. The most extreme form is like you have for several months of elevated mood and this sort of manic, everything's real fast. You've seen people experiencing it. They like talk really fast and everything's big and exciting, and but it's usually kind of bookended by major depression. Can't get out of bed, and can't make oatmeal, can't wash the dishes, can't do anything. And just, that's pretty paralyzing for a family system. But it's hard to treat because when you're high, you don't want to give that up because it's like you're on a trip, kind of. And when you're low, it's like hard to treat depressed people because they don't want to get better because they feel so bad. And then when you're feeling normal, then you're like, well, I'm feeling normal, so I don't need help. So it's sort of a tricky thing. But I think people are hungry for more people to talk about these things. And I've just started working on a book project to actually kind of talk about my experience with it. My doctors always say, when I say, well, what's the prescription here? And they say, you have to take this medicine, and it's really important to have a stable and predictable and routine life. And I look at them like, not quite what I've got going on right now.
There are moments, I think, when we kind of, after Sue's, like, we'll get back from the psychiatrist visit or something, and we'll, like, debrief, and I'll feel a little daunted by it all. Like, how, there was also a moment we were kind of, like, really hustling to make money for the record. And I was like, okay, I'll book this thing, and I'll book this thing, and Suze was saying, I need a break. We need to stop. We can't just, we have to rest up before the record comes out. We can't just hustle the entire time up till putting the record out. And so kind of a real, recognizing, acknowledging kind of what our human limitations are, that you kind of when you're pushing so hard, sometimes you lose sight of that.
There are ways that a song can tackle a theme of darkness and light in sort of a big, broad landscape, like thinking about that in a global perspective, And then you can also apply that directly to the darkness and light of one's own heart.
You know, there is a lot of darkness right now in the world, but to not lose sight of all the light and the hope and the love that's out there.
Half closed eye of the moon, something stirs in the mind's cocoon. Cool air in, warm breath out, blood in the hands, soft tongue in the mouth. How do you know if your eyes are closed? How do you know if you're dreaming? How do you know? Do you trust?
These songs feel like they're kind of tackling bigger themes than maybe the records have in the past. In the social media world, where it's like we're posting about a certain vision of what we're projecting, a vision of our life. And I think that some people have related to the band and into any band that way through the kind of prism of that, the romanticism of it, and it's really easy to idealize life or partnership through that lens, or seeing someone as a public figure in a way. You know, but what we're really trying to do is something a lot more meaningful and deeper than that, which is kind of present a real musical partnership and a real relationship that is our band story, that is who we are. And so I feel like the songs are an expression of that, of kind of an emotional vulnerability, and you have doubts and you have questions in terms of, you know, can we do this? You know, it's not just about love. There's also like, you need this whole support network to pull something off like what we're doing.
Cool air in, warm breath out, blood in the hands, soft tongue in the mouth. How do you know if your eyes are closed? How do you know if you're dreaming? How do you know? Do you truly know? How do you know if you're dreaming?
What do we want to sing that's going to help us feel hopeful, and that's going to help give us strength? And I think that if we can do that for ourselves, then we can also do that for the audience and for the listener.
Actually sing the words to that person, and not just say the word, not just sing them the way you just sing as you're driving along in your car, not thinking about what they mean. And that's been sort of a new thing that I've been really trying to bring into performance, is to say to David, how do you know if you're dreaming? How do we know that? Or is my love strong enough? Is it strong enough for you? And really own the words. And I think that's what people are sensing.
Uncover the Gold Spin, like a song, like as we've been starting to play it live, it feels so different than everything else we're doing, but not out of character for us.
I refuse to live in fear, won't give them what they want. The path ahead is not clear, through the trees I see the sun.
Quickly emerged as a song that we were really excited about, and it felt like the deeper we dove into it, kind of the richer the song. Like there was just so much room for exploration. And a lot of that I think is informed by our conversations and Suze's own obsessions, and a lot of this record was like Suze kind of calling through the songs and being like, this one I want to do and this one I want to do, and the ones that I was kind of writing that were more informed by our conversations and the things that she's interested in, I think helped shape a record that feels really different for us.
to me when I listen to it. It's just like a positive, loving record that is very melodic and very fun. And also some of the serious songs are just like heartbreaking and beautiful.
So it's about the big picture and fear and love and trying to persevere through really dark internal and external times.
You know, I feel like the show really succeeds when we're taking people on some kind of journey. Can you bring people to a place where they can be moved by music and have experience that makes them feel alive or makes them feel more of their heart and more of their soul? And so I think that we're trying to do that, and I feel like the fact that there's a couple singing to each other, and Sue's particularly kind of creating a space where people feel like they're welcome and can come in and feel, kind of let their guard down.
They're so driven in their unique way, like, you know, touring with their family and like all these musicians. Like, I kind of don't understand how they have enough energy to do what they do. So that is like kind of a magical thing in and of itself.
Every mountain just a small hill. Something washes away. Lit up burns the cold. Every day is a day. Every mountain just a small hill. Something washes away. Lit up burns the cold.
So for me, meeting David, you know, we started the band before we ever got together, but once we decided to be together, it felt like this kind of opening of the future I'd envisioned. Like, oh, okay, if we do this, then we can have this band, bring our kids along, and I can have the fulfillment of this fantasy of having a life and work intertwined and interconnected.
I felt like still in that like crazy dream. You know, like, is this really?
It's still in a crazy dream phase.
Okay, yeah.
Sky so wide it's measureless, your heart's not a wilderness.
Everybody wanna live like this. Equally in the darkness, equally in the darkness, equally in the darkness. Doesn't everybody wanna live like this?